Come on in.
Thank you, Ms. Watley.
Yeah, so just kind of wanted to share with you just a little bit about what's going to happen when students come to Hewitt Elementary. So in the morning, our pre-K, kinder, and special ed will come through the front doors with a staff greeting them. They'll pump in. That means they're getting a pump of hand sanitizer as they walk in, and they can choose to get a grab-and-go breakfast or have sit in their designated area. So we're going to have students sitting 3 feet apart, and they'll be 3 feet in distance from the next table. But we will have them numbered 1 through 22, and each student will sit with their grade level in their numbered spot every day. So
all this is, of course, at each table?
Yes, the hand sanitizer is at each table, and we'll put them at every table here. But when they come in the cafeteria, either in the morning or at lunch, they'll have a grab and go that they can get from the cafeteria. So we'll have a station set up right when they walk in on this side, and then we'll have another one across the cafeteria on the other side. So
by doing that, it minimizes the interaction.
Right, and the traffic.
And the traffic.
Absolutely,
Good,
absolutely.
good.
And so they will come in one way, and they will leave another way.
So, Ms. Watley, I noticed that you have a face shield on.
Yes, yes.
And so tell me a little bit about that for our students.
Absolutely.
One of the things we've considered, as you know, in our plans was certainly the governor's executive order talked about it for anybody any person 10 or older.
Right.
And we initially talked about requiring it for all fourth graders and above. Mm-hmm. But in consideration, we thought, though, for our younger students, what is a way to protect them? Maybe some could wear masks, but some it may still not be appropriate. So I see that you have a mask.
I do.
So what is Hewitt Elementary doing in this area?
So here at Hewitt, we have partnered up with our PTA and asked them to help us. So they have bought face shields for every student on our campus. So each student will get a face shield when they come.
Similar to yours?
Similar to mine. It's just a little bit smaller, a kid size. So we're really excited that they were able to purchase that for every student on our campus.
That's tremendous. Thank your PTA.
Yes.
It really does help with the transmission, in terms of keeping that the shield on every single student.
Absolutely.
For all of your grade levels. So we appreciate your PTA for doing that.
Yes, we do too. Yes.
So, Ms. Watley, one of the things about starting school again was socialization of kids. And one of the things we heard from a lot of our parents. And so my question, though, is, in doing so, though, kids, though, need to move and have movement. And so how are you all going to handle recess time? And then you have a beautiful new playground and outdoor space, but still, how are we going to work with our different classes and students?
Very good question, and we have made a careful plan to ensure that our students can get that social interaction. But we're going to have 5 zones or stations that students can play at. 2 of them will be on our playground, so this will be a zone or station here. We'll have a station in our big playground, and then we'll have 3 other stations where we'll have activities for them to do. We're also going to provide teachers that are in those stations with a basket and sanitizing spray to spray down the materials that they're going to be using during that time.
Before students come out, they'll hand sanitize their hands?
Absolutely.
And then when they leave the playground, they'll do the same. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So they will be hand sanitizing coming in and going back in and coming out. Okay. But also on our playground, they're going to have it sanitized once a week, so that will be very helpful as well.
Right, and that's similar to what we learned the city of Waco, other city parks are doing with their playground equipment too. Okay. Ms. Watley, I've also noticed throughout the building these signs that say, "My mask protects you, your mask protects me, #stronger together." So
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about those.
Yeah, so
What's our message?
Yeah, so we decided that we would post these at each door, just as a reminder, one for our kids and our 4th graders, but also for the adults in our building, so that they would feel comfortable to tell someone if they didn't have their mask on, hey,
please put your mask on.
Put your mask on.
We're trying to
Yes,
protect you, and you're trying to protect me.
Yes.
These are great. I appreciate y'all doing that. Now we're in a 4th grade classroom, and we're in Mrs. Taylor's room here at Hewitt Elementary.
Yes.
And so I'm just curious, Ms. Taylor, how have you thought through organizing and providing as much social distance as you can for your kids?
Well, we're trying to space them out, and we're trying to organize desks so that there's a good space in between the kids, so that they have a good 3 feet between each one. Of course, assigned seating. We're not going to share school supplies this year.
Oh, good point.
So
they'll have their own school supplies.
They'll have their own materials. Of course, we'll help provide if they need something, but that way they're not cross-contaminating and sharing things.
Sure.
Yes.
So I saw up here on the computer screen that, so tell me, Ms. Taylor, what are you, in terms of your staff development, professional development, what are y'all working on right now?
This is going to be, well, hopefully my virtual Meet the Teacher, so that parents can kind of scroll through and get to know me like we would normally do at Meet the Teacher night. So just pictures of my kids and my dog and, all that kind of stuff.
Appreciate you doing that.
Yes.
Getting very, very creative in order to...
I learned how to make a GIF. So, there's something
Good.
I'll come in and get some advice from you.
There we go.
Yeah, so this is just a way so you can, from the very beginning, start building relationships.
Absolutely.
And people
Get
get to
go.
know each other. Oh, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm in this very beautiful library here at Hewitt. And of course, one of the things we're wanting, of course, for our students is to get back in that habit of checking out books
Yes.
and reading. And hopefully they've been doing that during the summer, but we're real excited to welcome our students back so that they can begin checking out all this wonderful books here in the library. But tell me, what are going to be our procedures here in Midway in the libraries in terms of checking out books and when they'll be able to be rechecked out but for other students?
Okay, yes, we did meet, the librarians met, and we're going to have a 4-day quarantine for the books. So they will be set outside the library and no one will touch them for 4 days, and then we'll scan them in, and then they can be rechecked.
Okay, so
At
you're
that
just giving them some wait time, the book.
Yes.
Time just in case if there's anything that's residual on the different books and germs or something like that. So
That's
then
right.
they'll be available and safe for the next group of students to
That's
check
right.
them out. Okay.
That's right.
Very good. Anything else here in the library though? What about classes coming in, or what are your thoughts about the social distancing and how procedures that you'll have here in the library?
Okay, I think at the first of school, I will push in. I will go to the classrooms.
So push in just means you will physically go to the classroom.
Right,
Where students
right.
then are staying together still as a cohort. Okay.
Right. And then hopefully eventually the kids can come back in, and when they check out, separate from classes, we'll only have 4 in here at a time.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, and we have a procedures for all of that, also for washing hands and
Before they
distancing.
come in, right?
Yes.
Right.
So,
Sounds like y'all thought it out and still thinking of ways to get as I said, these wonderful collections out to the kids.
yes, we have.
So appreciate
We
it.
have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Ms. Singletary, you tell me a little bit about how you're protecting students in small groups. But in a large classroom, one of the questions might be, though, how do we keep it clean? And so, of course, we have a great custodial staff that will be cleaning each of our classrooms. But what about some responsibilities that you plan to do as teacher?
Well, my goal is first thing when I come in the morning, everything's already clean and ready for the day. So before I leave in the afternoon, I'll spray down and wipe whatever needs to be cleaned, including dividers and tables and any manipulatives that we've used during the day, so that they'll all be ready and fresh for the next group in the morning.
So then we'll have that period of time overnight for things, and then coming back in the room, they'll be ready and clean and ready to go.
Yes, and I also have several buckets that will have things can sit for a few days to get all the germs off them for sure before they go back in any rotation.
So that's, I think, safe to say our teachers are planning through safety. They're planning. You're planning through the different materials that you formally use. I mean, you're looking at things through a new lens, if you will, and how to keep our kids safe and how to get those materials and manipulatives clean before our next group of students use it. So
Yes.
very much appreciate that, and I know our families and kids will too. Dr. Boyd, how you doing?
Good. How
get some of this.
So we have purchased plexiglass right here, so that when a student needs to drop something off, they could just set it in here. Susan or Adrian or Nurse Erin or even Miss Burns and I would sit here and be able to help our students.
Right. Just a little more added protection.
Little more added protection.
Because this is going to be a high traffic area.
Yes,
So
sir.
we appreciate that. So this is your, I guess, safe room for those that with symptoms?
Yes.
The isolation room for
Yes.
that purpose?
Uh-huh.
So you kind of repurposed some other areas.
I
and So
did.
we have an opportunity for students to be self-isolated.
Yes, and
of course,
again-
with your supervision.
Right.
And until parents can pick up,
Right,
correct?
exactly. And that way we can kind of keep this front office more safe and clean for students if they have an injury or
Right.
something that needs to come
Right.
and take a medication. And anyone that we suspect could possibly have COVID-19, we'll isolate them until hopefully their parent arrives within an hour.
Yes, yeah, all right, yeah, exactly, we do. We really, I guess, implore to our parents if the students have symptoms
Yes.
and we call that we do need them picked up as soon as possible so that
Right.
they can get medical treatment
Right.
at home. Very well, thank you. Thank you very much. So the Texas Education Agency through the CARES Act was able to secure some dollars. and funding, and we were able to purchase masks for districts throughout Texas, and this is just an example of our allotment. And so you do have extra masks for kids. We do highly encourage students, of course, grades 4th grade and above are required to wear a mask, and we want all students, if at all possible, to please wear a mask. So if they don't have one, though, we're going to have plenty in order to distribute.
Absolutely.
Correct? Hello, Ms. Morgan.
How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. This looks like our pre-K classroom is coming together for the start of school. But I would imagine that designing a pre-K classroom in light of COVID-19 has been somewhat of a challenge for you.
It's been a little wrapping your mind around things and thinking about things a little differently.
So first of all, I see that you're wearing a face shield. So, and I also see that you have the same type of mask I have on. So how are you going to utilize the face mask as well as the face shield with your kids?
Well, one of the things for my little babies, it is very important that they see my face.
Yes.
Whether a lot of facial expressions can set the tone of the room, but I'm going to also use my mask for close, small group instruction, things like that.
Perfect.
But also just academic instruction, you know, if they need to see how I put my lips together to make a sound, or what my mouth is doing when I make certain sounds, things like that.
So the shield then is an excellent tool now.
Yes.
It's for your protection as well as the students.
One of the things I've changed up is this is like our sensory table where the kids do a lot of measuring and scooping and pouring, which it would have been all in one big. So this year I have made individual sensory bins that they will get to play with for about a week, and then sanitize it,
Then another student will use
clean it,
Sure.
and then the next week someone else will do it.
Okay.
And I've done that with several things. We have these are sensory bins. I have manipulative bins.
Okay.
Same thing for math counters and things like that. Their own dry erase board. They all have a little cubby that's going to be theirs, where they just keep their materials in it and get it as they need it.
So one of the things, of course, with young children, particularly their first entry into the public schools, is I'm sure you did talk a lot about sharing.
Yes.
And so this is a little bit different
It's gonna be a
because it's a
little
little
bit
bit different.
Yes.
Rethinking some of those instructions because this is going to be more. What I'm hearing from you is students utilizing one-on-one materials or their own supplies, things like that.
Yes, we've always been a sharing community, but this school year, or at least the beginning, we're just going to have to really use stress using our own and keeping our own space.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
awesome.
for stopping by.
Ms. Hip,
Yes.
glad to have you, and then allow me to come and tour your
course.
wonderful classroom. And one of the things I'm doing is walking around all the schools and learning more about each campus's Safe Start plan.
Yes.
But I'm sure one of the questions that comes up is, what about music class? Because that music is so important for elementary students.
Yes.
However, music and singing could have this potential of spreading more droplets.
Yes.
So tell me, what are your thoughts and how you're going to organize your music classroom?
My goal is to make this as familiar and joyful of a musical experience as these kids can have. We're spreading them out as much as possible in here, and they will have assigned seats that they will always
So they're going to
go
have assigned seats on these fantastic looking risers, right?
We will be spread out between the risers
And the
and the
carpet
floor. We
floors.
have a huge room in here, so we're going to take advantage of the size of the room.
And so then is that saying for all students then when they come into music, they're wearing their masks?
We are asking that all students, when they come to music, they wear their masks so we can sing and be as active as
Right.
possible in here. Yes.
Exactly.
So we'll be interacting with our smart board a lot, with our musical curriculum that is on there. The kids love this. It's very engaging. We'll be doing as many instruments as we can that are easy to sanitize afterwards.
So sanitation between each use of the instruments between classes.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
but how many classes will be in your music room?
One class at a time.
One at a time.
We are keeping the classes very separated.
So we keep
for
the
everyone.
cohort of students together.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Allfield, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking forward to my tour here of River Valley Intermediate School and some of the safe practices, safe start plan that you guys are going to have in place when our students return. Right now we're in the foyer area, and I noticed that you have some plexiglass, I guess, for your receptionists and office staff. have that barrier with the public.
We do, and still have more to put up. We've got a couple more that have just come in that will hang out there, but we've also got one for Mrs. Lopez as well.
So, Mr. Allfield, I see here that you have a tape dividing line in your hallways and your main corridors. And so I assume students then will stay on the right, kind of like driving a car?
Exactly like driving a car. You can go either direction, but we're going to teach them and train them. You stay on the right side of the tape, and that will naturally keep big groups from congregating in the hallway.
Sure. Very good. So this is throughout all of
the entire building. The entire building.
So, Mr. Allfield, tell me about the possibility of how you might cohort your students. Many of the schools are doing that, where they may be assigned a number, when they come in to their homeroom class, and then follow that throughout. So, is River Valley considering that?
Absolutely identical. In our homeroom classes, students will receive a number, and that will be the number they utilize, whether they're in the cafeteria or in the gym, for their lunch seating, because we've got everything spaced out 6 feet in any direction. They'll come in, find their number.
And that's where they sit.
That's where they sit for their lunch period.
And so you mentioned the gym. How's the numbering used in the gymnasiums?
Very similar. We'll just have to number essentially 1 to about 200 and something, and that student will just have that number. So each homeroom will take up a specific table, so there won't just be scattered everywhere. So each homeroom will have, if they have 25 students in there, your number's 1 through 25. The next homeroom,
1 through 20.
26 through 50.
Okay.
The next homeroom, 51 through, and so forth. And so they'll find their number. And that way we can have a 5th grader have the same number as a 6th grader, because they won't ever be here at the same time. Otherwise, we'd have to have almost 600 numbers.
Okay. So you're thinking of then feeding by grade level?
Yes, by grade level still.
Okay. So we have this large of a cafeteria, then will just serve 5th graders, and then they'll be finishing up, and then 6th graders.
Well,
will you even stagger that somewhat?
Yes. All the 6th graders will eat at the same time, but they'll eat in 2 locations.
Okay.
For spacing. So we have this cafeteria set up, we have the stage, then our 6th grade gym will look identical to this. So all 6th grade will eat lunch at the same time.
But spread out.
But very much spread out. And then
5th grade.
20 minutes between lunches, 5th grade, same thing. In here and in the gym. Again, all spread out.
So, Mr. Allfield, you were telling me about your condensed lunch line, right? Yes. So, like at the breakfast, I would assume students then, if they don't bring their own lunch from home, would have a box lunch that they can pick up, correct?
Yes, sir. They're all going to line up on this wall and utilize one line.
Okay.
Those students would come in the cafeteria, get in line. Students that bring their lunch from home would come in and go directly to find their number. Of course, we're not having any outside deliveries.
Right, no outside food, no outside visitors at this time with that, okay.
So, of course, students that bring their lunch from home, they come straight in, sanitize their hands, go find their spot. Students get in line, we have one line, that will be a grab and go.
Sure.
Then they would leave and find their seat.
And I see here, though, the way you have it currently designed, there still could be some talking interaction because you have it divided far enough. You have a large enough cafeteria, and by utilizing not only the cafeteria, but behind me here is the stage area that you've already had a number of tables set up, and then one of our gymnasiums.
Yes, sir. And we actually had a staff breakfast in here the first morning, set up just like this.
Okay,
and we're able to socialize and.
Hello, Mr. Davenport. Thanks for having me into your band hall here at River Valley. Just some of the questions I had for the Safe Start is, particularly with, for example, 6th graders, they're beginning band, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so how are we going to begin a music program with beginning band members in the 6th grade here at River Valley? How are you going to design possibly your classroom, and also how are you going to, how will students use instruments, things like that?
Okay. First of all, we'll have an entry and an exit door.
Okay.
And all the instruments, generally we have all the flutes in 1 or 2 slots, and we're going to space them out with classes that will be meeting later. So there'll be no big group of students
where they come together and try to crawl on each other to find their instruments.
Yes.
Do they share instruments in the beginning
No.
band? Oh, okay. So there's no sharing of instruments. So they have their own, for example, mouthpiece or things like that. Okay.
Everything is their own.
Perfect.
Okay. And our plan is to set the chairs at an 8 by 8 foot grid.
Okay. 8 by more than 6 feet. Very good.
Yes, we're doing more since they're moving air through through the
the-
room. We thought more
Yes.
space would be best. For the brass instruments that have to empty their water keys,
Yes.
which everybody calls spit valves, but we call them water keys, we're getting puppy pads.
Okay, good, good.
And so it
they
won't be
can-
going in the
To
carpet.
the carpet, things like that, yeah, for sanitation. Excellent. So how long have you been a band director, Mr. Davenport?
This is starting my 44th year.
So out of 44 years, did you ever, in your wildest dreams,
Never,
think that you would be starting off a year in a band program with the pandemic?
Never, ever.
It is certainly once in our lifetimes.
Yes.
Planning, but sounds like you doing it. Your plan is an excellent plan, and still allows our students to begin that music experience and that process as sixth graders, so they can begin learning their instruments as we move through the pandemic and get past all of this. They'll still have the skills and the teaching that they so deserve. So thank you.
It's my honor to
Appreciate
get to do it.
You bet. Appreciate it. Mr. Allfield, thank you very much for walking me around and seeing all of the different plans and ideas you have in place to keep kids safe here at River Valley. I know on your website, the River Valley website, as well as the district's website, we have our Safe Start plan posted. But it's probably hard to put every single item in that particular plan. And so as we've been walking around, is there anything else that you'd like to tell me different, or at least some ideas your staff has come up with? Yes, sir. We've got not only the one hand sanitizer station walking in the classroom, we've equipped every classroom with an additional one, so there'll be 2 places for students to sanitize hands in and out. Also, all of our classrooms have sinks, aside from the fine arts. They all have sinks, so students can sanitize their hands and wash their hands. We are going to be staggering passing periods.
So how's that staggering pass period going to look like?
We've extended the passing period by a minute, and by taking, students won't use lockers, they'll take their backpack, so that will eliminate itself congregating in big groups. We'll be releasing half of the students, our girls, when the bell rings. We'll ask our boys
Gentlemen,
students, gentlemen to let the ladies go first.
Yeah.
And in our hopes that in about 2.5 minutes, they have made their way through the hallway, and as they're ready to enter classrooms, then we'll release the boys to go to their next period class.
Excellent.
And in hopes of, and again, utilizing the
The
two-lane highway.
The 2-lane hallway.
That will space
Excellent.
students out enough and stagger them.
Well, good. Well, you also shared with me a lot about community partners. You shared getting some different supplies that have more of these hand sanitizers in the classrooms, and then you were mentioning your PTA is working really hard because all water fountains will be turned off for sanitation purposes, but your PTA is working even like with water bottles. We certainly hope students will bring their own water bottles to school, but there is a possibility of a bottle of water for them, of course.
We will never let a student go without a bottle of water at any day. We do have the water fountains turned off, but again, every classroom has a sink for students to fill their water bottle up. We do have a water filling station in the cafeteria, but if a student shows up and they forgot their bottle, they will not go
disposable
without.
then.
We will have disposable water
Well,
bottles.
we appreciate our community partners, as you know,
Absolutely.
very, very much so. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Offfield.
You're welcome.
We're ready to start August 24th.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Yes, sir.